We are ready again. Good afternoon, everyone. Going to learn today how to do effective pricing. Our two instructors, CarrDrawbaugh and Mark Carr. And Brenda is doing this, which may seem a little bit funny to you because Brenda's not out in the field that much. But she just recently went down to the Triple Play Convention, which is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania's convention, and she went down there and ended up taking a course, the CRF course in effective pricing. So she is bringing back some of the concepts that were taught in that particular class. So that's why Bren's here, so she can transfer all the information from the national trainer to you guys. And then Mark obviously is here because he's out listing all the time, and lots of them, and he was willing to share his ideas, and he said, this is an area I'm really good at. So,
I think that was some paraphrasing.
So anyway, let's get started. Brett, you're on.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, Nancy already said I'm bringing information from the class. It was CRF 201 was the class I took. It was actually a 2-day course. Total 15 hours, I believe, is what it was. And the instructor's name was Jackie Leavenworth. And I'm just saying that because obviously to give her credit for this, so that you know where I got this information. But also, she is doing that CRF 201 course that all of this came from at the Lancaster County Association of Realtors in the end of April. And if you are looking for CE, if you're looking for something, it was a really, really good class. So you might want to consider it. This obviously was just about this much of the 2-day course, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But as you see on the first slide here, what she was talking about quite a bit as she was getting into all of these concepts was changing some of the dialogues. And I've heard this in the past, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard it in the past, changing some of the wording that we use every day and every day and every day. Because a lot of the stuff we know what it means, consumers kind of know what it means, but some of the stuff that we say may set the consumers off in a different way that we don't even realize it, and it's just stuff that we say every day. So when we did the PowerPoint, I crossed off pricing and I called it positioning properties, because that is the first thing that she said is trying to get away from using pricing properties and talk about positioning properties. Yeah, if you want to go to the next one. Thanks, Mary, you're right on. And the reason she said that is because when you say the price of something, this is the price of your home, to the sellers, a lot of times it means what's my home worth, or what's the value of my home. And unfortunately, we know that sometimes when you guys are going out there, you're not giving them the price, the amount that they think their home is actually worth and the value of their home. So basically, you are devaluing their home. Maybe in their minds, we don't feel that way, but taking the word price out of that worth or value, and using the word position, which simply means to place among others. Okay? Where are we going to position your home on the market? Okay? Same thing, just a little bit different. Go to the next one, Mary. She also talked about changing our dialogue from comparable or comparable to competition. Because comparable obviously means similar and equal, and we obviously, when we go and we do our CMA, that's what we're looking for. And Mark's going to be talking a lot about that, about the properties that are similar or equal. But a really important thing to know, and that she brought to our attention, is competition. All of the competition for your property is not always comparable. Because how many of you have buyers who said, I absolutely won't buy anything unless it's a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath on half an acre, and they end up buying a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rancher. I mean, it just happens. So there is a lot more competition for potentially their listing than they even think about. And that's kind of the concept where she is going with this. And you can go to the next one, Mary. That says not all competition is comparable. So we're going to talk about a little bit different way to talk about their competition and to decide what their competition is outside of the houses that are very similar and equal to what their home is. Okay? All right, some of the other dialogues. Actives. So when you're out and if you use actives in your CMA, call them unsold properties. Because who wants their property to be on the unsold properties list? Not too many. You know, active says, oh, this is what's available. Unsold means ugh. So we don't want, if I'm the seller, I don't want to stay on that unsold list for too long. Okay? The next one, FMV, fair market value, is just our competitive position or our compelling position, where we're going to be in the market. List price, I really like this one. And I talked about when we said position instead of price. Your list price is your initial market position. Okay? Obviously it is the list price. It's a price that we're going to list it at. But it's our initial market position. And the reason I like initial market position is because if you go to the next screen, when we go in for a reduction, instead of saying that horrible word, you know, reduce, 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 and that's what people say, and when the sellers call us up as managers, and all the agent, I only ever heard from them when they wanted a reduction, we can call that reposition. You know, it was our initial market position, and we're 30 days, and for whatever reason, you know, we had 100 showings and no offers, or no showings, no interest at all. You give them a call, and I think we need to look at our position, and we might need to reposition in the market, which is a lot softer, says the same thing, but they'll be like, okay, I get it, and you're not asking for reduction, 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 like, you know, a broken record. And then expireds, if you use expireds in your presentation, if you talk about them or at your appointment, she said call them market rejected homes. Okay? It's not that they just expired, it's obviously expired because nobody wanted to buy them. So they are market rejected homes. You certainly don't want to be on the market rejected homes list. So just a couple of those, and you know, and if you're going to try any of this stuff or take some of this stuff with you, which I certainly hope that you do, you know, don't try to do all of it at one appointment. You know, maybe just the one that you really like and you think would really make the most impact, and change that dialogue, and then change another one, and just kind of see how it works. But I thought expired market rejected homes was pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to get into the concept that she taught us that was called Think Like a Buyer, okay? And Think Like a Buyer is broad competition. Now, when you're going to be doing this, she absolutely recommended that you still do your regular CMA. You pull your tax record, you pull your actives, you pull your solds. You're going to do more, you know, exactly what Mark's going to talk about in the next segment. You're going to highlight your stuff, you're going to put your notes on there, and you are going to know what your most comparable homes are, just like you do now. Part's not going to change. But what she had said is a lot of times when she switched to doing this type of system, that sometimes she doesn't even end up going over these things, because so she shows them what the competition is in the market position. Sometimes she doesn't even have to go there, but she has them with. So you still do this, you still have it with. I would recommend doing that first. So you kind of know, you got a price range, you kind of know where you're at. And then let's go to the handout that I gave you that said preparing for your listing appointment using the positioning property approach. It was the one separate handout. Okay? Now what we're going to do here, and I'm just going to talk about it first before we get into it, and I am going to have Mary go through and actually to demonstrate it, but you know, when it's live, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I always believe in taking this with you so you can look at it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to look for two different types of properties. We're going to look for solds, and we're going to look for the unsolds, okay? And when we do that, we're going to look like a buyer. We are going to get a broader radius search instead of just, okay, this is, I'm looking for my 4-bedroom, 2-story, 2.5 bath, maybe in the same street, in the same neighborhood, in the same school district, okay? Hi ladies. That's okay. When we think like a buyer, we're going to go a little bit broader than that, because we all know, like I said, they're going to go away from style sometimes. They're gonna go away from area. I want to be in this development. Next thing you know, they find one in the development over. And it could be in the same school district, it could be in another school district. If they don't have kids, they don't have to worry about that. So our competition is just not right, so limited. So when we go through this scenario, I'm going to take you through looking up the solds first, then looking up the actives or the unsolds. The reason I'm doing that, if you are a pretty savvy Excel user, you could do them both at the same time, but you have to create two separate worksheets at the bottom of the page, and I had my notes like that, and then I'm like, Chris, no, I gotta change it, because I was like, I know how to do it, but I didn't want to get everybody confused. So we're gonna do two separate. I'll go through it one time with the solds, and then you'll know what to do with the actives or the unsolds. Then you just have to go into Excel one time, save it, do your thing with it, and print it out, okay? So I'm going to show you how to go in and do that wide radius search. A lot of you might already know how to do a radius search, so I'm not teaching you anything as far as that, but just in case you did not know, I want to go through that. So we're going to go in, and we're going to do search, and we're going to do mapping. Do search mapping. Okay? And then we're going to go up to that little, that's the address of your property. You're going to click that and put in whatever address that is your listing appointment for tonight. You can just leave it like that, I don't care, okay? Okay, so that is my office address, all right? And then you're going to go into where it says radius, the circle, you click that, and then put in 5 miles. Now, if you are in a development, if you're in an area like that, put 5 miles. If you're in a very rural area, you might want to go 7 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles, depending, because I know everybody works in a little bit different markets. So you might want to go even a little wider, okay? So that's showing properties that are in that 5 mile radius, and then you want to go up there and click Add to Criteria, and this time we're just going to do the solds. You could do them both together if you want, but you're going to put your status as sold. If this is a residential listing, put your class in there, residential farm. And we're going to put a wide price range in there, a little wider than your CMA. So if your CMA was going to be, 150 to 180, you want to make this, 140 to 200 or something. So Mary, just, make something up.
That good?
Well, let's see how many we get. That's fine. And then if we want to just put a 3-month time frame in here for closing date. So let's go 3 months back. So let's go back to the beginning of November. Let's just go to the beginning of November. I'll write that down because that's how I'll totally figure that out. All right, so there we go. So we got 84. And we're going to pretend that's a different number later. Okay? And then you're going to just click the search button. Now, when you're doing your actives, obviously, you're going to do the exact same thing. You just don't have to put a settlement date in there. Okay? Do your same radius. Residential farm, we're not putting a style in. We're going like that. All right, so we had whatever that said, 89 or 86 or whatever that was. So now what we have to do is we want to take these, and we really are, just bear with me because we're really getting to something here. It's a little monotonous till we get there, but this will definitely walk you through it when you go back to your office if you're trying it. You want to make sure every listing is checked there because we're going to export it. So you want to check everything, all the listings, and you want to go up to the top and you want to export to CSV, which is going to export to Excel. You want to make sure they're all selected. You say export. And again, it might work a little different depending on the operating system you're using, but however you export to Excel. Oh, see, you do this, I don't know, use Chrome, so this is, I think you have to go here. Mine just, on Internet Explorer, mine just pops up.
Very fun. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, there you go. If you use Internet Explorer, it just comes up the bottom and says, do you want to open or save? And I just say open, but on that one, you had to show the downloads, okay? All right, oh crap, I forgot something. Go back. Sorry. Just go back to Paragon. Okay. One really important thing for this, like really important, and it's in the notes, and that's why I did the solds and not the actives, is on this default spreadsheet, you need to have the sale price. Okay? If you don't have the sale price, very important thing, and you see I've already done that, but yeah, Mary, go ahead and show them. If you do customize fields, and then you just go over here to the left. If sold price was not on your default spreadsheet, click it and add it to your spreadsheet, okay? Then what I did is I just moved it up by the list price. Can you show them how to move something up, Mary? If you just click on it and then hit move up, move up, move up, it just goes up there. All right? So you have to make sure on the solds that the sale price is on there. So that was why I wanted to show you the solds, but I just went right on past that. Sorry. Okay, let's go back to Excel now. Okay, so now we're back to Excel. So again, you have to know a little bit when you're working with Excel, and that's why I want to keep it, on one sheet. I would recommend, and don't have to worry about doing this right now, but make sure you say, 123 Main Street sold and the date, okay? And then the only fields that you need here is the sold price and the address. So Mary's going to get rid of all of the columns. You just go to the top of the column, click it, edit, delete. You can do all of them at a time. Just click it.
Like that?
No.
No?
Just do, that's
Give it all.
except that's the address, so not that one.
I want the whole address.
Yeah. Edit, delete.
I'll edit, delete.
Well, that one doesn't matter, but over here you need to get rid of them.
Okay, I get it now.
You know what I mean? Edit, delete.
Or right click.
There you go, then it goes over there, all right? So, and you don't need the list price either for this.
Okay, you want that gone?
Yep, edit, delete for that. So we're really only gonna have two columns. And our two columns are gonna end up, and then what I would recommend, highlight those, yeah, you get rid of those. Edit, delete. Okay, and bring them across, yep. Just make them a little bigger so we can see them.
Okay.
And then just go ahead across the top, across A and B, highlight, and change your font to like 22. There. This is all in here, really, it really is. Change it in there, so it's big. Where's the reason for this? Okay, and you're gonna end up having something that looks like this, okay? Now, let's talk about this. That's where you're getting to. You're gonna have one that is active and one that is sold. One that is unsold and one that is sold, okay? And the other thing you want to do, Mary, if you can just go up there and hit data, sort. You want to sort by sale price, descending, and say okay. And you do the same thing with the list price, okay? So this is showing us anything that was sold in the last 3 months, starting at our highest range, which was 200, and going to our lowest, which was 140 or something like that, okay? So you're doing that for actives, and you're doing that for solds. All right? And why we are doing that and what the purpose of doing that is you know how many people are so visual? People are very, very visual, and they look at something, and you can sit here and you can show them these one at a time. This is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and this one only has 2 baths, and this one has 1 bath, and now here's the next one, and you can go through all of those. But when you say to them, these are the properties, because then you print them out and then you just take them together. And you go to your listing appointment and you say, right here is your current competition for your home today. Potential competition, okay? And then you have this list and you say, this is the properties that are in your competition that have sold in the last 3 months. Obviously, we want to be on this list. We don't want to stay on this list too long. Okay? Now, you'll see I have some things highlighted here. That's why I said make sure you still do your comparables so they know that you've done something besides just played around with Excel. And when you pull the properties that you thought were the most comparable, highlight them on this sheet. Okay? So when I highlighted the most comparable properties for this sample one that I was doing, I think I had a price range of like 175 to 240, something like that. And when I look at these unsold properties, I can see that from 190 to 210 is where all of the comparable properties are listed right now, okay? Or positioned right now. So what that tells a seller very, very quickly is, I can't be on this page, pretty much, but I don't really have to potentially be on this page either. So I should probably be somewhere in this 190 to 210 range. Okay, so it kind of gets them down a little bit, gets them in here. I think Mark is going to talk about, because I sneaked a peek at his presentation last night, he's going to talk about different motivations, and I think that's what that meant. I'm not even sure, I'm just making it up.
I'm still not sure yet, so.
Okay, well, if you need my help, you know. So, different motivations, you know, if they can wait a little bit, maybe we'll go up here. If they really need to sell like in the next month or so or less, you know, we might need to be down here, all right? And then when you do the same thing with your solds, okay? And it was very interesting because the solds kind of did the same thing. The lowest sold was 191, the highest sold was 211. So we were still in that 190 to 210 range as the things that are selling. So it really backed up the theory that we need to be listed in there, and then we can, you know, if they want to, then they can go into this, you know, you can go into these actual comps and show them because you brought those with you. Now Jackie said that once she got to doing this, and she, you know, she used this all the time, she said probably 1 out of 5, 6, 7 times did she ever even go to these. She told them that she had done this and that she had that research, but just by her talking to them about it and showing them this, she did not go into all of this property by property by property. So I thought that was really interesting. This might be something that the first time you do it, you're not going to be comfortable just doing this. You could do this, but then you want to do this too because that's where your comfort level is, and that's fine. But she found that this was much more consumer visually friendly, and they kind of got it. You know, it kind of was like a light bulb right away. All right? So that's the part, that's the pricing part as far as that goes. But then she went on to talk about, and what she talked about a lot during the presentation was, she talked about, well, let's go back to the presentation, Mary, sorry. Because I'm gonna throw some numbers out for you, so, but they're on your paper, so you don't have to worry about it. So we are going to pretend, that's all right. Okay, right there. We're going to pretend that my long list here of unsold properties was 89, okay? So there's 89 unsold properties, but there were competition. Next one, Mary. This one was 21, okay? And it's more than that, but we're just going to, because that's how the handout's already went, so I wanted to, so it made sense to you, okay? So next one, Mary. All right. So we got 89 unsold and 21 sold. So she talked a lot, as I was saying then, about having a point of difference when you go. Obviously, this is going to be different. People might look at you like you're crazy, you know, but it's different. But doing things that other agents are not doing when they go out there. And she called them your iPods, your individual point of difference. And of course, she said, don't share this with anyone, and I'm sharing it with all 80 of you. That's why they were pregnant. Just don't tell her, I shared it with everybody. But she was talking about doing some stats and doing some numbers that are very easy once you do this to come up with, to take to them, especially for your analytical people, for your people who like numbers, for your people who think they follow the market and they do all their research online and they know what the absorption rate is and they know all of this stuff, and having some information for them to be like, okay, makes some sense. And that's the handouts that are behind you're preparing. It's the one that says market statistics that matter. And you have 2 of them. The first one is your agent worksheet. That has the explanation on how you figure out these numbers. The second one is the one that you would make copies of and give to your sellers. Now, again, she's pretty, locks down her stuff pretty tight. Unfortunately, I could not copy this. It would not print out in color. So this is black and white. So you may want to just add, if you want to use this, you could, do something, you could add it, except it's PDF, so you can't really. But, so unfortunately, it's in black and white, but if you like the idea, you could make up something similar to this that looks a little bit nicer in color. I just couldn't get it from her in color, okay? So let's talk about what this means, because what this is talking about now is this is where the market is for your home today. So let's go to the next one, Mary. Okay? Look, back, got crazy. Okay, so we're gonna start with the top left box on this market statistics that matter. The agent worksheet, you could use either one, it doesn't matter, but the agent worksheet is giving you the explanation, so if you wanna make notes, make it on the one that says agent worksheet. So it says total number of homes right now competing for your buyer's attention. All you need is the total number of unsold properties, that's 89. Right now, today, there are 89 unsold properties that are competing for your buyer's attention. Okay, next one. On average, how many homes in this price range are being sold each month? Well, we know we had 21 on our short list, our sold list, and we went back 3 months, so that's 7 properties per month are being sold in this sample, this price range. Okay? And then it says number of homes sold, which is 7. All right, number 3, this is an absorption rate. Number of months some sellers in this price range may wait to sell. Okay? At the rate that the buyers are currently buying. So you take your number of unsold properties, for our example, it's 89, you divide it by the number of properties sold each month, and that's 12.7 months. Ooh. Okay? We're setting ourselves up to be down here, not up here. You don't want to be the 12.7 month person, you want to be down here, okay? And the next one is, what are the odds in today's market of selling a home in this price range within the next 30 days? You take the number of properties sold each month, which is 7, you divide it by 89, and that's less than 8% right now, okay? I would think, but I'm not sure, because these were the numbers that were already on here, so I didn't recreate the wheel and really confuse you, but I didn't do those numbers on these actual one that I did. I would think right now in our market, we wouldn't be at 12.7 months. It would be a little better than that. It would be less months of inventory. Does everybody know what absorption rate is, what months of inventory, what that means? And I think that describes it very well, and I think it throws it in here that it explains it to you, that you can explain it to them. You don't want to be on the market for 12 months. You want to be on the market for 30 days or less, or maybe 60 days or less. So you can give them this, which again, how many people have ever given them this, that when they sold their house? Or if you're in competition with a couple people, how many people actually come out with this information? Sometimes that's all it means, is you coming out with something to show them and to tell them that they aren't getting from somebody else. So you give them this information, but then obviously our goal with this is to get the price where we want it to be, and we don't want to be that less than 8%. So let's see where we're going to position your property among your competition so that we can have better results than the 12.7 months, we have the 30 to 60 days or whatever it might be, okay? So it kind of works together, and going back to this, where do we want to be? Okay, well, we really want to get out of here quickly, so I'm thinking we need to be 190 to 195. Perfect, that's great, love it, okay? That's going to be our initial market position. Later we're coming back for a reposition, we just don't know it if we need to. But if we price it right, we probably don't need to do that, because I'm sure Mark probably doesn't have to get a whole lot of repositioning going on if he prices it right in the door.
I've been in very, very many positions.
Hey, I'm filling you up! I'm filling you up!
Yes,
All right, any questions? Yes?
There's pending.
Mm-hmm.
I use something like this, but pending.
Now, it could have been listed for 225, but it's really down here at the 190, you don't know where it's at. So I would say, if you use that, put it with the actives. And if you use expireds, you could even do this with expireds. I mean, if you guys pull expireds, you could, and you want to show them how many market rejected homes they were, if you really feel like doing it a third time, you could use that as well. And I would guess that list would be really long, and it would really show, oh crap, I really don't want to be on that list, and see where those prices are. So
She didn't bring pending up as part of it.
no, she did not. She just used unsolds and solds. But I would say, if you're going to put pendings, I would put them in with the unsold, just because you have no idea. You know where it was listed, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I would just make sure that you had it marked somehow. And then you might want to, Bob, add the instead of just having list price and address, have the status in there. And you could do your actives and then your pendings, or you could put them together, whatever. But then that way, you could show which ones, or you could then highlight which ones are sold in a different color or something like that. Any other questions? I know it's kind of a concept, but don't forget about the couple different things that we talked about. I talked about the dialogues and changing some of your wording, changing some of the things that we're talking about. Yeah, that's my last slide, so that's my last slide, so you can switch it. Could do some tech stuff. We talked about, obviously, the long list and the short list, and then we talked about bringing an iPod with you and not one that you listen to music, bringing something different so that you have it in front of you and that you have that in front of them that no one else is doing, okay? And this, guys, you can do this without doing this. I mean, if you're not really comfortable with doing all of this, but you really think this is something good, just get these numbers and fill them in here. You don't have to do it with this. So you can mix and match any of these things that I talked about between the dialogue, the market stats that matter, and the, and all. Get out of here. You can use and mix and match any of these things, but that's just kind of how all of them go together. But just try one thing at a time and see what you might like. Any other questions for me? All right, thanks, guys.
Okay. Let Brenda get her things here. All right, Mark Carr is here. We get a little new technology too.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Okay, guys, I got a question before I start. Honestly, show of hands. Are you guys here, and there's really not a wrong or right answer, are you guys here to figure out how in the world you price properties, or how in the world can I convince the sellers to agree with what my pricing strategy is? How many, raise your hand in here if it's trying to figure out how in the world is the right price for property. How many people in here want to figure that out? And it's okay, it's not a wrong answer. I just kind of want to know which way I want to tailor this thing. How many of you guys here, raise a hand, you want to try to figure out an easy, tactful way to teach the sellers how to agree with your pricing? Yeah. So, I basically, and what Brenda gave you was a really foolproof way of sort of analytically breaking down the whole process. Mine's more of on the street, you know, when I'm in front of the people and how I handle it and different things like that. So I broke it down basically into like my pregame, you know, what I do to get ready for a listing appointment, and I'm keeping it specific to the properties. I'm not going into like the marketing and all that stuff. And then I broke it into when I'm actually at the presentation with the people. And then I also, in my third section, it's basically just some takeaways, really kind of what my philosophy is. And I'm not saying it's the right philosophy, and probably Nancy's eyebrows are going to go crazy by this production. You know, it may not even be the company's philosophies, but it's really what I've, you know, learned over 20, 21 years. So first thing that I really start, and again, some of this is going to overlap. You know, obviously I heard Brenda doing like the little Paragon search or the radius search, whatever. What I want to do is I want to make sure, because again, one more raise of hands. How many of you guys are nervous when you're going into a listing appointment? Wow, not that bad. I'm like basically, well, of course I'm almost sweating up here too, but I get like so nervous because I feel like it's almost like you're going into a battle a little bit sometimes, because you're like, you're going to give them the information. You know damn well they're not going to like what you have to say. Darn, oh my gosh, my mom. As soon as I said my first swear word, my mom's looking right at me. I'm sorry. Darn well. Where's the swear jar? Does Cinema Drive have a swear jar?
Grace, did you bring it?
I'll take a check.
Is that a quarter or are we up to $1?
Depends on what the word is. Different words have different prices.
So, you know darn well that what you're going to tell them most likely is not initially going to be in line with what they're thinking. You know, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have all the answers before I get there, because the last thing is like you're standing there like, you know, and of course you know where that's going to go. So basically I start off immediately with the property. I do a polygon search. And again, you guys saw how that's done. And really you just want to see what's going on around the neighborhood. It doesn't matter if it's a semi-detached, it doesn't matter. It's like where I live in Springwood, Chestnut Run, We've got like $600,000 homes at Springwood, and I've got a gorgeous 13.9 Shauna Drive property, down there at Mill Creek Estate. So we've got like crazy differences in prices, but I want to see everything that's going on. So I start with the polygon search so that I have that. The other thing that I do is I go basic. Basic to me is the easiest way than trying to get too detailed, trying to go bananas, and frankly, I think the more detailed you go with when it's pricing, you lose people. I just think their heads start to spin. They start thinking about what time the kids are going to bed, or when's this guy getting out of here, all that stuff. So I go real basic. So I take MLS sheets with me. And it's just really, I just do pendings and solds. I don't even really care about actives. My opinion is, I don't really care about actives because frankly, the way that we price it, I'm going to beat all the other actives that are out there anyway, so it doesn't matter where the other actives are. We're going to position ourselves in the best possible way that we can. So regardless of what the actives are, it doesn't affect what you're going to price this property. That's just my opinion. I basically then hone it down to the same style of house. Of course, now I'm going to use my house because I use my house here for you. So I'm going to look for 2-story, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, or 2.5 baths minimum. Use the age as a bracket because again, you don't want to get new construction when you're comparing a 1975 2-story in Marlboro West. I mean, that's just not a good way to do it. And then what I do is I do a little highlighter, but I keep all that stuff. I absolutely 100% never give my clients any type of CMA on pricing. I never give them, never. Now a lot of people in here are like, what? That's crazy. Why don't you leave something with them about the pricing? I set the stage that the pricing is the most easy, the basic thing. It's the thing that we don't even have to talk about that long because frankly, pricing sets itself, in my opinion. And what you have to do, and I'll show you in a little bit, you have to get away from, this is what I'm telling you. Instead, you get beside them, and I'll show you that in a bit. The other thing that I do is I go in and I check out what the AVMs are. How many of you guys know what an AVM is in here? There we go. It's an automated value mechanism or modification or module, whatever you want to use it. It's the Zillows of the world. So of course you guys know, if you guys go on Zillow, you look at that. RPR is actually a pretty rad resource for you, and that's only the realtors have that. Only we have that. So if you guys don't have RPR, download that. It's an app on your phone. You can do it on your desktop. You can do all that stuff. So as I go, like I said, I use my property. Dude, look how crazy this is. So Primrose Lane, I actually have 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and frankly, our square footage, my first and second floor is maybe 2,600, and then the basement's completely finished, maybe another 1,000. Zillow has me at 3 beds, 2.5 baths, the wrong square footage, and they're telling me my place is worth 302. Now, of course, I'll croak if that's the case, because I'm, owe more than that. But look at what RPR does. Now, again, they only have me as 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, blah, 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 but they're at 347. Now, how in the world is there a 12% difference between 2 AVMs? So what you want to do is you want to keep that in your back pocket. And what I mean by that is you don't come out of the gate saying, oh, here's what Zillow says, here's what RPR says. Because if you do that, then what your opinion is, it's totally watered down. Because they're like, well, geez, what do I need you for, Mark? I mean, I could just go look at Zillow. But keep that in your back pocket and use that, and I'll show you how I use it to come back out. Now, the one thing that I do for myself, and what I do show my clients, but I don't give it to them, is I create a really, really user-friendly, basic, plain Jane CMA. I would give $100 to every seller if they could read our MLS sheets within reason. I mean, aren't they the worst? So why would you give them that? I mean, it takes me a half hour to figure out where they moved the year bill of the house. I mean, it used to be down the bottom right, then we went up left, now we're about here. So now I just don't even care about it. So I build a real user-friendly CMA. Now I'm back and forth on this, and I gave you 2 things. Toolkit CMA is something that we have inside of Berkshire. Is everybody here from Berkshire, or do we have anybody outside? Okay. So Toolkit CMA is kind of a cool one. It's nice, it's a little plain Janey for me. The one that I really love, honestly, let me see if I can get this going here, is the CloudCMA. We don't have that yet. So lucky us. We don't have the CloudCMA, so everybody, your homework today is to call RAYAC and talk to Lori Foltz and say, hey, we really want to get on the Association for CloudCMA. The CloudCMA, what's pretty awesome about that is, and again, Brenda alluded to this, I'm like the king of show and tell. Of course, I kind of grew up that way, but I love working off, the iPad. Of course, now I got my new little handy thing here, so I kind of can, finagle around. But see, the key is that this is a great way to display any type of properties. People can see it. It's so user-friendly, and it looks so much better. Because even if you print it out, like all the pictures, and it's not awful. So what I do basically, come on, baby, is create something like this, and I just built this in my Keynote. And basically, I put up 5 different photos. Come on. Here it comes. I put up 5 photos, maybe 6, and then all I do is just a quick blurb. Just, address, this, that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm digging out, if I'm going on a listing on a 2-story, I'm digging out the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm setting the stage to see where these people are going to fall in. Because when you get there, you don't know what the heck the house is going to look like. Here's one of my best stories. This is a property over on Kylemore Way in Dallastown Schools. I prepared like an hour and a half for this listing presentation. I did like this whole custom thing, everything. And, sorry. You need like those feet up here so I know where to stand. So I prepared like this awesome presentation. Actually, it took extra long because it was a referral from somebody who's really giving me a bunch of referrals. So I sort of wanted to like put on the dog a little bit. As soon as I walk in the house, 17 cats. The dishwasher is leaning open, a cat's laying there. I got a cat doing like a figure 8 through my legs. I was like, Julia, we're gonna have a talk. I'm like, man. So I totally so you don't know what you're getting into. So you kind of have to figure out, what area, where it's gonna be. So this is a great way just to do show and tell when you're doing the listing appointment. Because if you're holding the MLS sheets and say, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, the people's heads are swimming. They're just going all over. So don't kill them with too many details, So that's basically what I get set up. So the other thing that I do that's important to me is I establish what I'm good at, or I establish what my numbers are. Numbers, they scare me to death because I'm not that great with math, but they scare me to death, but they are also a telling figure. Nobody can deny numbers. Actually, I used to learn from Scott Grubb. Scott Grubb was like the king of working these numbers. He would have this little BA, many of you guys may not even know who Scott Grubb is, but Scott Grubb was one of the best realtors in New York County when I first came in. Learned a ton from him. He had this calculator. He's going crazy. I'm like, what is he doing? And he comes out with a number, and I'm like, well, guess must be right. So numbers I use to my benefit. So 2 ways that I do it. I establish what my average list price to sale price ratio is. Do you guys know how to do that? Anybody know how to do that? So list price to sale price means what is your listing price versus what you actually sell the property for. If you're new in this business and you're like, I didn't even sell a house yet, let alone figure out what my ratio is. There's several different ways of what you can do. Now, again, I got into real estate when I was 22 years of age. I learned and kept my eyes wide open in front of everybody in front of me. Because I figured, well, if they're successful, I'm just going to take what they're doing and just put my spin on it and take it from there. So when I had no listings or nothing to tout, I used my office stats. So I grew up in the Dallastown office, obviously. So, where's Susan? Where's it, Susan? Susan was giving me heat last week because she's like, don't pick on my Dallastown office. I'm like, oh, you don't know. I fought like tooth and nail to get internet in this place, let alone, pick on it. So, but if you're new in the business,
Electricity.
Yeah, your electricity. Use your office's stats. And basically all you do is you take the sale price divided by the list price. It comes up to whether it's 0.95, 0.97, 0.98, whatever. In addition to that, do your average DOM, days on the market. Establish what that is. Now mine are 98.2% list price to sale price ratio. And my average day on the market is 31 days. That's not too bad. It's no Rick Smith, but I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Rick's is like 9 days on the market and 113%. So, but
Mark, how far do you go back? Is that for like in the last year?
So check this out. So this, actually, I go back a year. Now this is Dallastown Schools. So what I want to do is I want to establish the flat line of what everybody else is doing. Because then I'm going to come in and be like, well, Dallastown will only get 95% and their average days on the market are almost triple mine and paying closing costs. Now how I figured that out, it's a little extra step, but Chris Thomas is great in terms of helping with that. Anytime you call Chris and ask her for any stats, you make, but how I did it is I basically did what Brenda did. You just export it to a CSV, I throw it into my Apple product and it tallies up all the close. Because last year, I think there was like, hold on, let me see here. Yeah, there was 495 properties in Doylestown that sold. And I'm like, oh man, how am I gonna figure out how much closing costs was paid? Because I wanna add closing costs into that so I can bring down that average to make it look even better, because in actuality, that's the truth. So I basically just put it into a CSV, tallied it all up, it does it for you, and I knew there was like 1.7 million in closing costs paid last year, in Doylestown schools. So when I'm rocking and rolling into the listing, I'm gonna say, hey, on average, Doylestown's taken 72 days, 2.5 months, and most of the people are talking themselves down about 5% on average. And then you're like, well, here, let me just show you what mine is. So again, what I'm doing is I'm setting up where you're building the trust in yourself. If you notice, I didn't talk much about, oh, hey, a rancher with an extra bedroom is another $2,500, and an extra full bath gets you $1,500 on the market. That's not really where my gig is, because that's too analytical for me. Pricing a property is, you can't do it on the nose. That's just my thought, from there. So basically, that's kind of the pregame what I have. Now, when I'm there, and this is kind of like, I made this up and I'm like, oh my God, I think I might keep this line, but the CMA to me is not a presentation, it's actually a conversation. That's just my 100%, if you don't learn anything else today from me or anything that I said today, it is an absolute conversation. It's not a presentation. And what I mean by that is, where I earn the trust with my clients and potential clients is, I want dialogue. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to kind of get their feel, for where their heads are at. Kind of like, just kind of see what their whole point is. I always remember this, and I won't say the realtor's name, but my mom went on a listing appointment with another realtor, and she was helping that individual out, and it's cool, it was great. But the realtor wanted to go through the CMA, and the CMA is like that, because the company gives you 90 pages of junk, just to be like, hey, if you need it, it's here, And of course, I'm one of the dunces that prints everything out, and I'm like, oh, I don't need that, I don't need that. But this realtor went through this CMA, and they were heck bent, did pretty well, heck bent, on, I mean, this is killing me that my mom's here, because, my mom said, this realtor was so heck bent on going through the whole CMA. My gosh, they could have closed it up in the first 15 minutes because the sellers already said they're listing. But they were like, nope, let's go through this. Nope, let's go through that. Know when to shut up. Right. I mean, is that fair to say, Nance? Yes. No. So, don't make this a presentation. Don't feel like you have to get to every last word that you do. Make it a conversation. So, again, I'll talk to you a little bit about technology, but I use, when you come rolling in with how many of you guys have an iPad in here? Nice. How many of you guys know how to use it? All right, the hands went down. Market. Oh, gosh darn it. Can you put an electric fence here so I don't To me, again, the whole thing for me is when I'm meeting with a client, I want to establish that I'm the authority I'm there to give them valuable information. And I need to establish that. And maybe some of you guys, because again, I get super nervous when I go on appointments, sweat sometimes, I'm like, can you guys mind turning the fan on for me, But use technology, use whatever gadgets that you can come up with, that you're comfortable with, to do your presentation. It makes a world of difference. When I was designing kitchens, when we were doing a flip on a kitchen, I had one of my buddies who's a real good friend of mine. He drafted out this kitchen, and it's on this graph paper, and it's like this little pencil and all this stuff. And I'm like, Chris, dude, where's my 3D drawing? He's like, no, you have to do it this way. My other girl that does kitchens, she does this great 3D drawing where you can see it everywhere. And I'm like, buddy, you're missing the boat. You have to keep moving. I mean, you guys know this. This business is changing what? Rick, what do you think? Every 3 months this business changes? I mean, with just anything. So make sure you use technology. I mean, I know an iPad, if you don't have it, I know it's $500-600, but frankly, just raise your admin fee on a listing and you'll get it 3 times. It's not a bad move. Not a bad move. So again, it's really talking about pricing. It is not this intricate brain surgery, it's really not, because again, if you don't know where the property should be priced, because I know some of you said, hey, I kind of need help figuring out where the property is going to be priced. So this is my quick tip on that. Look at the house. Run through your comps, because you're gonna have an idea. Look at what has sold fast, look at the quality of inside, and see where that number is. So if it's $299 and your people want $349, their house isn't worth 20% more or 15% more. You know, they probably should be priced right at that number where, hey, look, they got $299. What's giving me any reason to give you more for that? You know, so you work from there. But the key is, again, when I see sellers sitting there across and they're like, you know, I'm like, listen, it's a we thing. It's not me telling you what your house is worth. I said, actually, the market's telling you what your house is worth, not me. You want to set up the strategy that it's actually you against the market. So that's kind of, well, don't make fun of my little symbols there, but it's kind of you and the seller taking on the market. And that's really, you know, the key from that perspective. Oh, there we go, attacking the market. So when it comes to dialogue, these are kind of the things that I start to talk about or that I ask people. Now, you don't have to be like a Tom Hopkins like genius or Dave Britton genius to know how to ask open-ended questions. The biggest secret to one of my successes, frankly, and if anybody that knows me in this room or anybody that's met me in this room, is you talk to the person as if you want to be talked to. You know, if you're sitting there with an analytical person, you're analytical. I can't crack my jokes. I can't, you know, do this and that. I get to the point. But if you're sitting there with somebody who's like a jabberjaws like I am, let them talk, because believe me, it's so hard for me not to talk, but let them just roll. The key is to connect with that individual. How many of you guys in here, when you first need advice where you're going to go, guys or girls now, to go get a haircut? Or you can go into Yellow Pages and look up to get a haircut, like who you're going to go to? You're going to talk to one of your girlfriends or be like this and that. Again, you're more prone to listen to one of your friends because you made that connection. Instead of going on the internet and saying, great haircuts in New York, and you know, you're like, oh, that's not bad. You know? So again, the key is get in alignment with them and talk to them about that. A lot of the questions that I ask immediately before I start about talking about pricing is, hey, what are you hoping for me to say today? Now, you know it. They're like, well, that's why I have you here. You're the expert. I said, oh, okay. I said, I just want to make sure you weren't hoping it was $450, because I was sort of hoping your house is worth $450 because my commission's based off that. But I got bad news. It's not that, you know. So, you know, you begin the banter. You know, you work from there. You talk to them a little bit about, hey, do you guys still have a mortgage on the house? See, by asking these questions, you're building a building block of where their head's at, where they're, you know, what's their motivation, this and that. The other thing, please, again, this is my second tip to take from today. Ask them what they've done to their house. Ask them what improvements they've done. They'll tell you they put the dog door in and that, you know, the cat can scratch its back because it's this awesome $50 back scratcher. Walk through it. Let them tell you everything that they've done to the house. And make notes. I never refer to my notes, trust me when I tell you, but please just write them down. Make notes. Again, this is building a rapport that you're listening to them. And actually, when I do write notes, is it actually does help me listen to them, because they can see my handwriting, so I better make sure I'm writing down what they're talking about, you know. But let them tell you all the things that they've done to the house, because honestly, it's going to help you a little bit. And it's one step further, because I always ask them, hey, what are the top 10 things that you guys love about this place? So when I'm looking for my target market, tell me what you guys love about it. And they're like, oh, we love sitting out on the deck because at 4 o'clock the sun sets perfectly, and you know what? The birds sit over here, the cardinal. So then what you do
Never
is...
mind, I don't want to sell anymore. You gotta be careful of that.
That comes up next. You know how to say no, get the heck out of it. But, you know, but write that down, because when you market the property, put that into marketing. I mean, my gosh, but anyhow, that's next level. You also, as you're walking through the house, you want your eye to scan everything. Don't make necessary comments as you're walking through, but keep them in your back pocket. So if you know when you're looking at a fireplace, and you know it's like a slate surround to it, or if you know you're looking at, you know, 4-inch maple floors. Now maybe some of you are like, what the heck's a maple floor versus an oak floor? You do have to do a little bit of homework. It's kind of our profession, you know? But make notations in your head, so then when you sit back down and you start saying about when you're marketing this place, say, yeah, this is awesome. You know, you have the gorgeous 12-inch tiles, you know, slate surround. You got these gorgeous, you know, 4-inch maple floors. My gosh, I can't believe you have central vacuum throughout the entire house. That kick plate underneath the kitchen sink is awesome. I mean, you guys know what that little kick plate is under the sink? If you catch that, they're like super into it. So just look for a kick plate when you go in. And because they'll be like, I didn't realize Mark even looked at it. Because see, when you walk through a house, I mean, you're going at a pretty good pace. I mean, you're not like, you know, you're not like you're at like.
Too far, go back there.
God, I feel like I'm at home with my wife bossing me around. You know, but again, make notations about the property because again, here's what you're doing. You're building a connection with that individual, so the information you're going to give them, they're going to be more prone to listen to you from that perspective. The one cool number that I love to do is I love to do figure out what their break-even point in selling their property. Does anybody ever do that when they go out on a listing? Yes. Oh, cool. It took me forever to figure out the formula. I had to call my brother Steve. I'm like, so if I want to break even, he's like, this is how you do it, Mark. The current mortgage divided by 0.92 gives you what you need to sell a house for. So again, I told you I'm not great at numbers, but I know how to use them. I love this because, again, going back to my mentality when I met with Scott Grube and learned about just a bunch of stuff, you're there with your calculator or my iPad, and you're putting out numbers, and you're like, well, so basically, for you guys to break even, we need to sell your house for $146,000. That's a cool stat to give somebody. Now, you may be sitting there, and you might be like, this place is worth like 90 grand, I'm out of here in like 5 minutes. You know, and that's a cool thing to know, too, because Jason, right?